I hope you can feel us, and you're definitely about to hang out with us.
Just do the things that make you feel good in life.
Is it helpful? Is it hurtful? Or is it going to make people laugh?
How would you identify yourself?
Trusting yourself enough to put trust in strangers.
It's a process, like everything else.
What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining for another episode of Human to Human. I'm really excited to be joined by today's guest. Mr. Lathan is in the building. Thank you for being here.
No problem. What up?
Thank you. Appreciate you. I always like to start this show. It's called Human to Human. When I started it, the title, I hope it speaks for itself, but it's very important for me to interview / have conversations with people that I actually admire, but not only admire just what they do, like who they are and what their position is and the choices that they're making and doing out loud. And so I really appreciate you for not only your integrity, but you showed up in a spot this year that I really feel helped a lot of us get through, because I was secretly asking myself a lot of questions, like, what are we doing? And then you would ask them out loud and then help us find out and really get to it. And I just felt like every time you did that, whether it was through your personal podcast, getting on anybody else's show, it just had a lot of integrity. So thank you for that. That really.
Oh, I appreciate those kind words. I don't think we've ever been in a space quite like this before.
Yeah.
And there's just so many things we're fighting at once. And hopefully people realize exactly what you need in your toolbox to be a happy and peaceful human after this, because I think we were putting so many things in one part of our emotional satchels, right? That when those things were depleted, we didn't have any reserves to go to.
Yeah.
So now hopefully people understand that, I know myself, that once your distractions and your day-to-day sort of tethers are gone, there's got to be something else there. And hopefully we can all work on that.
So what was depleted for you?
So, there are times where there are all kinds of things that happen, right? In your life, but they feel like little bug bites. Like you don't really feel them. You don't really pay attention to them.
Yeah.
And that's because most of the time for me, I'm so excited to be alive, right? I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited. Like I love to laugh. I love to eat good food. I love to do all of that stuff, right? So little things about myself that I need to address, be it my spiritual center, be it, some of the excesses that I take with food and drink or whatever, little things that I need to address, they become, oh man, if I could be the best version of myself, I would be this guy. Not things that are essential to my mental and physical health, right? And then one day, everything that you could do to kind of take your mind off of the stuff you should be doing for yourself, one day it just got taken from you. And not only did it get taken from you, but the mere venture outside of your home became something that was pernicious. It was dangerous. And there's no escape. There's nowhere you can go to where this isn't the situation. So I personally think that, there were a lot of things that I did just to pass time that didn't involve really living life and trying to find peace. And so now I think I understand now more how you're supposed to build, like I said, those emergency reserves and what you need in your life when things get hectic.
Yeah. So what's interesting about that is I believe that if you were paying attention to this year, which you definitely were, we had to stay inside, right? And so for me, I'm like, okay, if we're inside, let me go ahead and go inside. Like, what's up in the mind, soul, spirit, body, all that, right? It was forced, but we in here. And now we in here, you're like, I want to leave. And so
right.
As humans, to keep the toolbox full, it is now going to be a daily practice, right? Like we learn the truth. This is what it is. We're all get distracted. Netflix, this, that, whatever those things are. It's going to be an actual active practice for us to keep that going. And I don't know if kind of reckon with the fact that it's like, okay, I see what it takes. I have to do that all the time. Like, what is that process of making that a daily thing because we can all revert in 2021 or whatever, right? We can all decide during the holidays, let's go back to Santa or whatever. We can choose that, or we can choose, hey, we've been in the work. Let's just keep doing the work.
Yeah, see, the issue that I have is any place that you're forced to stay is a prison. Any place. Any place that you're forced to stay is a prison. If you're forced to stay within yourself, then you're trapped inside of yourself.
Yeah.
If you're forced to stay in your house, then your home is a prison. If you're forced to stay in a relationship, that relationship is a prison. If you're forced to stay at a job, that job is a prison. Now, we talk to ourselves and we say, hey, no one's forced to stay anywhere. You can quit your job, you can leave your relationship, you can leave your house. It's not quite the way things work, because things don't just have physical sort of ramifications. They have mental, spiritual, and psychological ramifications and consequences as well. So sure, you can leave your house, but what's forcing you to stay is the fear that you might get COVID. Sure, you can leave your relationship, but what's forcing you to stay is the fear of the irritation of your life and being alone and all of those things. So the question then becomes, like, how do you deal with being told to sit down? Like, how do you come to terms with that? And I don't have a good answer. Like, I want to go someplace right now. Like, when this first started, my anxiety was really bad. I would just get in my car and literally for 5 or 6 hours, just drive all over Los Angeles, drive to places, that I hadn't seen. And if for some reason there would be comfort in that, right? There would be comfort in going to a place that you hadn't seen. I remember the first McDonald's, one of the first McDonald's or something like that ever is out in Downey. And I heard about it, but I'd never seen it. So I just drove out there. There it is. You know what I mean? But what happens when you've seen the whole city? You know what I mean? Like what happened? I've gone north, south. I've gone to Orange County. I've gone like East LA with my essays out there. Been down with my people in South LA. Like what happens when you've seen the whole city? Then like what is there? So and you can't pour this out on anyone. Also, you can't call your mom and have her not be going through it. Oh, it's gonna be okay. You can't call your homeboys and have them not. It's all the same for everyone. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I think I am just trying to find some sort of serenity. But more than anything, I think I'm trying to get off the drugs I was on. And the drugs that I was on, meaning whatever it was about society that made me feel like whatever it was about being out there that made me artificially feel whole.
Yes.
I can't sort of re-engage with those things. So whatever patches and holes that are inside of me right now, those are the things I have to work to try to fill so that I can sit in one place. Like, I've been trying to meditate and stuff like that, but when I meditate, I feel everything.
Yes. I think that's the point, though.
I know, but I don't like that. When sometimes when you're meditating, a muscle twitches. You feel that muscle twitch. Like sometimes when you're meditating, you feel your pulse a little bit. You can see, you know what I mean? Nothing's muted. And so it's hard for me to stay in that situation, but to stay there and come to terms with all of those things and note them and just move on, I think is going to help me not be so distracted when things get back to where they are, like to some semblance of normal.
What time of day do you meditate? Do you start your day? Do you end your day? Is it the middle of the day?
Well, recently, because I got a hammock out there, recently, I would wake up and every morning I wake up, there's a lot of anxiety, not sure why. But it's worse in the morning. And I would wake up and then I would go out there and just walk around in the cold air a little bit. That helps with me, with my anxiety, and just kind of lay in the hammock. That like sets my brain for the rest of the day almost.
Yeah, I would also say I was surprised by my level of anxiety during this time. I think you never know. I don't know if it's like we're extroverts. I can't really even say I believe you're an extrovert, but do you consider yourself an extrovert?
I am a multivert.
What are the other parts of that? That's good.
I'm an energy team player.
Yes.
Meaning, if I walk into the room and the room needs my energy, I'll give it. But if I'm in a place where my energy is not needed, I'm more than happy to just chill.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Well, I definitely was experiencing the same thing. And just to your point of like not being able to dump that on anybody else, I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of this year has been learning and watching other people deal with the same thing and figure out how to help each other and how to pour in and not be a taker or just a giver, like to really do this mutually with everybody, parents, best friends, siblings. Like I said, I came home and decided like, okay, let's kick it. I'm the oldest of 5. So it's 5 of us walking around dealing with high school, freshman year, law school, bar exam, and college. And it was like, wow, this is, hey. So it was a lot of learning the give and take and figuring that out. But I said it to say that I also got seriously into meditation this year. It's a painful process, I will say. I think it's beautiful, and I'm still learning to like truly just fall into it. But you had mentioned something one time, and I was like, I'm about to ask about this, because you said the more I learn about myself, the more I grow. And I was like, for me, it's the more I learn about myself, the more I grieve and then grow. Because I think that what I've learned in meditation is like, you are feeling everything. So everything is coming up, even the shit that showed me that like, dang, you're not really as perfect or as this or as whatever those things are. And now it feels great to just be real with it and recognize it in that self-aware moment. But I wanted to share that because I just don't think that process is going to happen just for this year. I think it's going to be like, now this is our new normal of really sitting with those details.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I do find that there's no consistency that's harder to maintain than the consistency of healing and growing. Because it's like, when I'm in therapy now, like therapy is not pleasurable. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
As soon as I start to feel better, I don't want to do that anymore. It's even different. People talk about, well, don't you get the same thing like from the gym? Like, you don't want to go to the gym? Yes, I do. Like, I want to go. Like, I like to run. Like, I run, I zone out. I get endorphins in my brain. You listen to great music. Once again, like distractions, things, you're stimulating yourself. But those things don't exist like at the present time. So it's really the work on yourself, and it doesn't always feel good. But there's some realities, you have to be able to kind of deal with. And so I hope that, once things do get a little bit back to normal, that I don't get distracted, that I can remember. I think that's the hardest thing for people. Like, I've lost friends this year, right? Not to COVID, but to suicide. And when these people were alive, you had an understanding of their pain and what they were going through. They're gone now. And in order to move on from that, you've had to come to terms with it. But now I can't remember their pain. I can't remember what they were dealing with. It seems like it's peculiar. It seems how can I put it? I'm aware of what they were going through, but when they were here to talk about it or their actions, it seemed realer. And now it seems like something that didn't really happen, but it did happen. And it's important to remember what they were going through. It's important to remember how they lived and sort of the hiccups that it caused in their lives, because it's important to be able to not only recognize when someone needs your help, but recognize when you're losing control yourself. So like our mode as people is just move on. We're talking about death as if it's so cavalier.
Yes.
And it's not. I mean, it's something that we're all going to have to do. And it's something that's a part of living, but being inundated with this much of it is not natural. It's not natural for your brain. And so the trauma is just building on top of each other. And we're discussing it every day to the point to where you start hearing well, the death numbers are down and not as many people are dying, which is good news. But at the same time, it's like people are dying from a disease. Yeah, and it's weird. The whole thing is weird. I'm rambling on your show because I don't have good answers to these questions. All I have are feelings.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm the answer guy, but recently all I am is the feeling guy. So I don't want to forget my friend's pain and what they went through.
Yeah.
I don't want to mire in it and be mired in it or dwell in it, but I don't want to forget their pain.
Yeah.
And I don't want to forget mine either.
I completely understand and hear that. And thank you for sharing, because I mean, what I'm hearing is like, do you feel like your emotional language has changed a lot within this year? Because as you said, we have just been inundated with a different level of trauma on and stacked, and we're watching it happen and we're talking about it, and you show up in the forefront and as a media personality, and that's a lot. How has your emotional language changed towards those things?
Good question. No, I think that I process things differently. I think, if it's like playing basketball on like a 9-foot goal. Everybody's dunking the ball, right? Mm-hmm. And at some point, if you play in a 9-foot goal long enough, like you think you're good. I know guys that in Baton Rouge, and they play on these, the goal might be 9-5, 9-9 or whatever, and they're out there doing all of this stuff and they think they can hoop. And then you get out there and you realize, you whack. you like things are changing. And so I think that the rim this year hasn't been lowered. They made it taller. Just all of these things, it's taller. It's a little more, you got to put more arc on it to find joy. You got to put more arc on it to laugh. Even I watched Kevin Hart's stand-up special, right? And, I watch his stand-up special and it's funny until I see a mask. I have to watch the old stand-up special, because in the old stand-up special, people are completely, just there. They're not afraid, right? But you watch the new one, it's him in an intimate setting, and I know that they're trying to trick me. They're making it seem like everything is okay, but it's not. And so it's hard for me to fall into it. So yeah. So anyway, it's just about, for me, trying to balance my spirit.
So bring me into a conversation with you and your friends right now, specifically Black men. How are you guys talking right now? How are you guys talking about, it being raised? Are you talking about whether it's emotion, whether it's how Black men are showing up, whether it's mental health for yourselves and how that's changed, or what are those things that you thought were important that are truly not important anymore? How are those conversations?
Half of them are, not everybody feels like me. So, and I've always understood this. Half of the conversation, it's really pretty binary. Half of the conversations are, I'm as depressed as I've ever been. And sometimes it seems like people are depressed over trivial things, but these were things that they used. This was the life therapy that they had. Some people just want to go to Beauty and Essex and have a bunch of drinks and look at a bunch of girls, and they don't know what their life is without that. Like, we haven't played basketball on a basketball court together in 6 months. That seems crazy that would be a big deal to you guys, but you guys don't understand, like, that's a big deal to us. We're men in society, so we go on the basketball court, we get to be assholes and yell at each other and get all of that stuff. It's a release. And then there's another part of my friends that, more specifically my homies from Louisiana, that are dealing. And it's interesting because I always wondered about this. Like, growing up where I'm from in Baton Rouge, like, I always wondered how people would just deal with stuff, because I never could. Like, you get a phone call. I'll never forget, my homeboy Jason got killed. This was my friend. And they found him. His car was running in some place in North Baton Rouge, and he was shot a bunch of times in his back. And I just kept thinking in my head, I'd be like, yo, Jason's dead. And he wasn't the first, and he definitely wasn't going to be the last. I was just thinking, Jason is dead. Like, he's gone. He's dead. He died. He got murdered. He's 22. He's gone. Jason's dead. Jason's dead. Jason's dead. I'm thinking that in my head. We go to the funeral. Everybody does their thing. You know, the funeral, people are laughing, cracking jokes and stuff like that, and people are getting back to normal. That's how we are as people. And there's a certain familiarity with trauma that exists in that community. I haven't been there, haven't lived there for a long time. That at least in what they expressed to me, a lot of my homies from back home was like, "Yo, it is what it is." But remember, we live in a place where the cancer rate is 10 times, the AIDS rate is 3 times. You know, everybody been to jail, everybody was selling dope, everybody was doing this and that. So this is not anything that's really going to shake them. They'd have to, it have to affect them personally for it. So as far as the way things work, some of my homies are on pins and needles. And then some of them, it just kind of is what it is. They trying to figure out how they can get something out of it.
I mean, man, it's been really interesting to see that the dynamic of some people who are truly like, they use this year and multiplied. And I was like, huh? And then I come over here and it's like, I'm on the floor and I'm like, okay, it's 2 different, completely very valid reactions. And I've been inspired by both. One taught me to really feel. And the other one was like, once you feel, what do you do? You know, not just doing the old stuff. It's like, how do you become in that? And it's really interesting to find out first how strong and resilient human beings really are and what that means. But it's also very scary because it's just back to that point of this is not normal. Not just this, but like any of this, where we are as a nation, as a society, as a people. I've had a lot of questions of conversation with God, like, hey, you pick very specific people to be on this planet at this time. Whoever us 7 billion are, you had us all here right now. So what's good? What's the lesson? What's up? This is very specific, y'all. This is a crazy, I mean, it was a Black Friday sale going on. I'm like, goodbye. What's going on? Are we doing those? Like, at the same time, Joe Biden is asking for money because our president hasn't conceded, like, you know, the thoughts. It's just, it's so many thoughts. So I'd love to ask, what are you learning to trust right now?
Oh, you can't trust anything.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. The only thing that you can trust is that you have 0 control over anything. There's like, you have to lean into it. You can't, there's not an institution or a place or even a person. And I say not even a person because you remember, people are who they are based upon constructs, right? Like, you know, right now, Stacy doesn't eat human beings. Have you ever ate a human being before?
No.
Right, that could change.
God forbid, but we don't.
I'm just saying, like, that could change. Like right now, you don't eat people. I trust right now you don't eat people. But see, if we were driving in Alaska and our car veered off the road and I didn't make it and you did, and you're there with a broken ankle or something like that, you can't walk, they're looking for you, and I'm right there, that changes. So remember, when you're trusting people, most of the time when you're trusting people, you're trusting them based on the specific circumstances under which you know them, right? So it's really almost optimal level trust. So now in a situation where people are more desperate or more frazzled or more stressed, you can't expect them to be who you thought they were. That's unfair to them.
Yes.
Right. So right now with me, what I'm trying to do, which is impossible to do, is trust the uncertainty of everything. Trust that there's no control. Trust that you don't know, you know? And it's something that we do all the time, but not, we get in cars all the time. You drive around. That's a gamble.
It is.
You know, but it's something that you do all the time. What you don't do all the time is live through a pandemic, is be isolated, is be all of that stuff. So yeah, there's nothing that I can trust except that I'm not in control and I do not know. And I'm not even saying that I can trust those things right now. I'm saying I'm trying to learn to.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I learned, especially this year, that we try to control things that we can't trust. So all that control we thought we had was just a lie, you know?
Yeah.
And even learning that, like, even in this moment in November, trying to control anything is just because the trust still is not equipped in the uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that balance of that, but also, okay, now back to ourselves, you continue to show up, man. You continue to be a voice. You continue to use that integrity. You continue to speak and assist, because you are assisting people through their thought processes. So how are you trusting yourself to show up?
Oh, that's keeping me sane.
Okay. Wow. I love
Like
that.
that's keeping me sane. Like when I'm focused on doing a podcast or making a YouTube video, or not making a YouTube video, but doing a podcast or making an Instagram or doing a Zoom or something like that. When I'm focused on that, it feels like the old days when that mattered. You know, it feels like it feels like you know, it's taking your mind away. Like when I was an athlete back in the day, you'd hurt yourself. We had a guy that would be that would come out and give you a massage or pop your shoulder back in line, like, and he'd do something. He'd go, "Yo, you see that girl right there? Look at that cheerleader from over there." And you look at, boom, he would work on you. You just get your mind off of it because you're tense. That's what these things do for me now. I don't have anything to add, man. I don't. I'm in pain. You're in pain. We're all in pain. There's no silver bullet. I don't have anything to add. What I can do is, for an hour, I can tell you the way I look at the world. For 2 hours, I can tell you the way I view this or view that or view that. But when I leave, the pain is still there. I'm sad. Okay. I miss the people that I've lost. I'm concerned for my mother and my grandmother and my father, who is immunocompromised. I'm angry because we don't have the entire combination, should I say, of all of America's bad traits. Like, this literally couldn't have happened at a worse time in history. Like, we have the perfect terrible leadership, right? We have the perfect consumer-based culture. We have the perfect amount of schism between us. We have the perfect amount of distraction. You know what I mean? If this would have happened in 1996, you couldn't have kept up with the death numbers, because you didn't have a phone that every single minute made you go back to it and made you worship it, right? You'd have to get your information from somewhere, but at a certain point, you'd have to move on and every day find something. But now, this right here, which is tethered to me, it runs me, because I'm trying to figure out, I'm waiting for somebody to tell me something that's going to make me feel better. So all of this stuff it's perfectly aligned to be as debilitating as possible. But I will tell you this, it also connects us in a way and lets us sort of hold hands in a way that we couldn't. If this would have happened in 1996, I wouldn't be able to see my mom's face or my sister's face or my dad's face or any stuff like that. It'd be a year of voices, you know? So, you know, there's just a lot to unpack. But what I will say is, all of the stuff that I'm doing it as much to keep myself sane and keep this household sane as it is for anything else. Yeah. I'll have no answers for nobody. Yeah. I just watched the Saints football game. The Saints just played. I just watched their football game. It was a good game. And for a moment, I felt cool. Right. So just trying to make it.
Do you feel that, to that combination of all the perfect BS that could just show up in our lives at the same time, there has to be a reason for that, right? Because even with my question of, like, how are we all here right now seeing all this at the same time? Like, we're all here. Like, it just could have been so different, but it's not. So I keep believing and seeing that there has to be an awakening on the other side of it. There has to be, because now we're recognizing what this distraction actually means to us, or what it actually does, or what this leadership actually means. I mean, not everybody to so many of our points, but does that give you any type of, I don't know if the word's inspiration or hope, but.
Oh, I'm incredibly hopeful. I don't want anyone to listen to this or watch this and think that I'm not hopeful. Everything's going to be okay. Yeah. I just don't know when. You know what I mean? And so like, everything's going to be okay. It really is. Everything's going to be okay. I think I can take a personal lesson out of it. And the personal lesson is I thought that I was working towards healing myself, but I really wasn't. A lot of the things that I was doing in terms of growth were cosmetic. And a lot of them focused on professional things, how big my voice was or where I was going and what I was doing and stuff like that. And all of that stuff can evaporate in a second. And then it's just you and your spirit and the sun. Then what are you? Mm-hmm. So if you can't answer that question, it's difficult to answer it at any other time. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't going to be a stretch long enough that I was going to have to really answer it for myself, right? You know, I wasn't going to go take 2 months and go walk about in the Australian outback or go to the Serengeti where it was just me and my giraffe and the giraffes, you know, getting back to where we're from and all of that stuff like that. I wasn't going to do that. So this is my time in the wilderness. And we're all in the same wilderness. But it's, of course, to your point, it's got to mean something. And it's going to be okay. It just fucking sucks. All of this sucks. Yeah. You know what I mean? So no, it's definitely going to be all right. And I'm going to be okay. And all of it is just, it's just, you know, it's stuff. We've, you know, for everybody that just to let you guys know, we were supposed to do this interview maybe like 2 weeks ago or something like that. Right. And I called you I didn't call you. I sent you a message and I was like, yo, I'm depressed. I can't do it. Right. Even that for me in the past wouldn't have happened. I'd have got on here, put a smile on and performed because that's what I've been doing for 10, 12 years. You know, but now I'm not. Now, if I need to press the brake, I'm braking. Yeah. So
you gave such permission that day for us to both just be, and also just to remind me of who I knew you were. And you know, we don't know each other so well, but I believe that I can read between the lines as much as possible. And so when somebody says, "Hey, I'm not feeling it," man, it's just like, okay, great. Well, let me know when you are, and what do you need in time. You know, like that's what I just really hope we stop the how are yous and what's good and I'm good. And I just really hope those things don't move with us because we have to be able to say I'm not good today because it's impossible. We were never always good. We were never we were playing ourselves. So it's just kind of like, are y'all done playing? We weren't getting paid enough to act. We weren't getting paid enough to do no. So it's kind of like it was time. And so I really appreciate that more than you thought. And I definitely set prayers up and I was like, I know what you're talking about because I was 2 weeks before you was, you know what I'm saying? Like something else. So our humanity just has to, that's what I'm holding on hope for. I just feel like once the bubbles bursted that we're all actual shit and we're all beautiful and annoying and wonderful and dynamic and crazy and cool all at the same time, I can rock with that version of everybody and myself.
Yeah, you're right. It's something that's like you, hopefully we've in some way, you know, I'm a little bit of an older guy, so I don't have, if I was younger, this might have been different, you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if I was 25 or 26 right now, or even maybe a little bit younger than that, maybe you don't see the angles of the world the same because you've grown a little bit less at that time and blah, 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 blah. And just, you know, but I'm 40, so having some years on me, and being in a place where, 2 Chainz was just talking about this on the album, like you're not old, but you're not young. So your body it's so weird. Like you go for a physical now and you're old enough to have some wear and tear on your body, but not old enough for it to be of any consequence. So they'll tell you, hey, this, don't worry about that. That happens when you get older a little bit, right? But it wasn't like that 10 years ago. So you're telling me I'm getting older. They said, they're not like, look, if you're 50 or you're 60 and something like this happens, then it's a little different, but you're fine, whatever, all of that stuff. Like even right now for the virus, like 40, you're on the cusp of it being an issue, but it's probably not going to be an issue, but you're on the cusp of it being an issue. So all of those things are playing in your head. But if I was younger, I'd probably be thugging it out, man. You know, like you could waste 5 hours a day playing 2K with your boys, trying to collect the check. But now I'm a little bit more established. I got more on me. I have more considerations. There's more to lose. You just wonder what's going to happen, you know?
What does liberation look like for you? We've been saying
Peace.
a lot this year. Wait,
That's it.
Did you go ahead? It sounds like what?
Peace. Peace. That's the only goal. There's one thing that, the one lesson that I've learned, and I think it was an important lesson for me to learn more than anything, is that I don't give a fuck about how rich I am. I don't care about, I was in competition with everyone. I wanted I'm ambitious. So the only thing I care about going forward is peace. And one moment to the next, how I am tethered and serving the people around me and how I'm serving myself. Am I sleeping good, eating good? Do I feel good about myself? Do I feel good? Our health, what we take for granted. All of these things that we were doing, all of the ways I was drinking and eating and acting, toxicity for fun, all of that stuff. Not coming down on anyone. It's different. It's different for everybody. Go do your thing. I'm not tripping. But for me personally, peace and finding some semblance of that so that the quality of my life while I'm here can be something that I can that I don't need a restaurant or a comedy show or something like that to feel, or even a conversation to feel. So that if I need my own peace, I can access it, because it's been hard to find during this time.
It's crazy because I feel like you're the type of person who gets asked a lot, like, can you give me advice on how to get to where you are, right? And I imagine if you're talking to a 23-year-old guy and he's like, tell me how to get where you are, and you told him the truth, you told him what you just said to me, hey, it's really about peace, it's really about this, it's really about this. They're like, okay, cool, but what about the other stuff? Like, I wonder, does everybody have to go through that growth to grieve to truth process? Or do we really learn from people who are older than us? Like, I listen to myself now and I'm like, wow, like when 23-year-old or 24-year-old women come to me, I'm like, I kind of want to just tell you, like, all that thing you think matters, it doesn't. It's that other thing. But I don't know if people really get it.
Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to survive. So I remember every day that you lay your head down and you go to sleep, you survived. You lived a day, but you also survived one. I oftentimes think about Tupac. And I think about who Tupac was. Tupac died, he was 24, I think, which is fucking astonishing to me. Or Fred Hampton died when he was 21. Astonishing to me. I often think about those guys, and I think about how much we think we learn from them. The reality is they hadn't learned everything that they needed to learn. They were babies. Now, they were special, unbelievably special souls, something that I couldn't even begin to access, especially Fred Hampton. But kids in the grand scheme of things that had a lot on their shoulders. So what more do you have to learn? When Fred was killed, his girl was pregnant. His son, Fred Hampton Jr., is now carrying on his legacy there in Chicago. What might being a father have taught him about life? What kind of balance was he still looking to find his peace? And we saw everything that Pac knew, and we saw all the mistakes that he made, mistakes that were glaring and sometimes disgusting. And what would a 49, 50-year-old Tupac look like? Like what happens when you survive those things? When you make it through. So when kids are like, and my dad would always say that. I would say something to my dad would be like, keep on living. And I'd be like, whatever. He'd be like, thanks, keep on living. So for me, the first thing I would tell anyone, if you want steps on how I got to where I was on television and stuff like that, I can email you that. Like, I can really, that would take me 5 minutes. Right. I can email you that.
Right.
Like that. If you want anything else, you got to keep living. You gotta keep living, because the things that life is going to throw at you, they can't be simulated. Some of these things nobody can get you ready for. So there's nothing anyone can tell you. Nobody can get you ready for if something happens to your kid or if something happens to your mother. You know what I mean? No one can get you ready for the loss of a friend or a global pandemic, or nobody can get you ready for turbulence on an airplane. When you're on an airplane, you're flying. I don't like to fly, right? You're up there in the sky, plane shaking. Even that, think about that. Like, you're 35,000 feet up and you really don't know. You know, but you don't know because you don't know how the plane flies. You don't know why it's in the air. You don't really know anything about aerodynamics. You just know that they do this all the time and you do it all the time. The only time you remember that you're flying, they do everything on the plane, everything that's done on the plane is to make you feel like you're sitting in your living room. They bring you food, you watch a movie. The reason why turbulence scares people is because it's a reminder that you're someplace unfamiliar. It's a reminder that, like, you're up in the sky, someplace that you maybe weren't meant to go. And the only thing that's keeping you afloat is somebody else's operation of technology. So you know what I mean? Like, those are the reminders. Like, nobody can get you ready for that. You have to go through the turbulence and then understand, hey, either the plane lands or it doesn't. And so as far as life is concerned, everybody can give you a bunch of tips and stuff like that. And all of those matter. And most of them are really, really good. But more than anything, you have to be open to the understanding of the experience of it all.
I was going to ask you, how did you start trusting your voice? Because it's something I admire so much, but already answered it by saying what you said in terms of just living. And it's really, and it's a very, I'm a little stunned just because most people, go ahead.
But the first thing you have to do is trust that your voice doesn't really matter. I'm serious.
I know.
Like, the first thing you have to do is trust that your voice doesn't. The biggest compliment that anyone can give you is to say that something that you said meant something to them. Like, you can tell the moment that someone, and there are a lot of people, I'm not going to name any names, but you can tell the very moment that someone starts to think that what they says matters. You can tell in a person that thinks that what they're saying is important to somebody else. You can see that on somebody. I'll look at someone and I'll say, oh, okay, he talking this shit and he thinks that's, you know what I mean? Or she's saying this. You can tell they feel that there's an importance. They feel that way, right? And when you say it, it doesn't matter. When you say it, it's how you feel. Now, what matters is when someone else hugs it and puts their arms around it. That's what it matters. So my voice doesn't matter. Your ears do. So like, for me, I might say something that it might touch someone. I might say something that somebody might be mad. Either way, I still got to be Van. Like, after that, I still got to be Van. What matters is not what I said or what I did. What matters is the connection that was made. And that's, as the other party is as important in that as I am. More so, they're more important. The person that you're trying to touch, or the person that you may have touched inadvertently, is more. The biggest moment of my career had nothing to do with anybody else other than me. Nothing. When Ye walked in there and started saying all of that shit, I wasn't thinking, yo, I got to stand up for my ancestors. I was thinking, he pissed me off. And this is the way I feel about it. And my personal emotion and how I felt about that ended up connecting me to millions of people. Like, you know what I mean? You can't. So now the next time that something like that happens, am I to think, hey, everybody's listening to me now, I have to say the right thing? No, you got to keep being you. Because you don't matter as much as they do.
Right.
So for me personally, the reason why, I guess, how do I grapple or wrestle with my voice is I don't. I say whatever, you know what I mean? I like it. Like, if it
Love it.
If it matters to me, then we talk about it. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. I don't ever look at anything. People send me shit all the time. By the way, people send me shit. They send me vile videos of racism and police brutality. And they send me this stuff all the time. They go, Van, we need your voice on this. And I'm like, and what I really want to send back to them a lot of times is that, yo, it's Sunday. It's 7 a.m. and you want me to watch a video of somebody getting their ass kicked by the cops. What about me? And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I'm not going to
talk about
address
it. Yeah,
because I am every single time.
Right.
Every single time. But there's nothing that I can say that undoes what you just watched. Mm-hmm. We got to do that work together. Now, I'm the person that if you need your voice amplified or you need to get to more people, no problem with that. We need as many voices as we can. But there are much less answers here as they are observations and emotions.
So before we wrap, as somebody who does have to, not have to, but chooses to stay and find information, chooses when to give it out, but also is, I believe, responsible with their voice. For somebody, I'm scared, right? Like, I'm just politically confused. And I know I didn't have the right to just act this year. Like, I didn't know what was going on. So I was like, you have to read, you have to pay attention. You can't give it up this year. We've had a couple years where we could do that. And so for those who are either trying to figure out, I can't act, I got to learn, I have to read, I have to watch. That's why I asked about liberation. There's so much depth to that. Mm-hmm. What do you think about, I was going to ask you, where do you see us in a year? But I'm not sure if that's an unfair question, but I'd love to know just your thoughts on where do you see us in a year?
Back to the same old thing. A year from now, it's just the way things go. Yeah. A year from now, this is not like, you guys, this has happened before. The Spanish flu came through in 1918 and killed 50 million people. If 50 million people have been killed by this pandemic, it would be the level of the level of panic that will happen if this disease was 2% more fatal. The biggest blessing in any of this is that it could have been so much worse. If this disease had a 10% kill rate, if it had a 5% kill rate, if it had a 6% kill rate, and sometimes it did, and sometimes it, like those numbers, the numbers that were volleyed around earlier when we didn't have the treatments and therapeutics and stuff like that we do now, and if the hospitals get this, it definitely could get to that, but it would be a disaster with the way institutions now are able to ramp up panic and instill fear in people. It would be a disaster, right? So in many ways, we were spared the very worst. But, I'll give you an example. Walt Disney got Spanish flu. So Walt Disney survived Spanish flu. He got sick during the Spanish flu pandemic. Think about that. You're one cough away from no Mickey Mouse. Like, you're one fever away from no Donald Duck, from no Disney World, from the Marvel, all of that. Well, so that guy had to survive that and then go on and do that. Now, not the hugest fan of Walt Disney. There's a lot of shit in his past, Nazi shit and all of that stuff like that. But what I'm saying is that we've been through this before, worse.
And I'm mixing in politically, I'm mixing in racially,
all going to go back to status quo. There's certain things that won't. Like, America has been fundamentally changed by Trumpism, and there's always going to be a particularly dangerous cabal of far-right people who people are going to listen to now, and that's just going to be the new normal. But even that in and of itself isn't something novel. There's always been a group pushing or pulling America to try to rip it apart in the middle. So now you see them more and you hear every single thought because of Twitter and social media and all of that stuff like that. It used to be that those people had to go into a little hall somewhere. The clan had to have clan meetings and they had to do terrible things for people to pay attention to them, or they had to make great big rallies and stuff like that. Now people can get together in groups and you have to see it because everything that's big on Twitter becomes big in the news. So it's just different. But even all of that stuff will go back. It'll go back to some semblance of the normal that we had before. The question is not whether or not society will snap back, because it will. Mm-hmm. The question is whether or not you will. Mm-hmm. The question is whether or not you're going to go back to doing things exactly the same way. Whether you'll learn anything. The Stacy, the Van, the Ian, the Charlemagne. I'm just naming off my friends and shit like that. Like the Kalika, the Marie, the Afi, all of those people. Or will they go back? Will you go back? Because everything else, Baskin Robbins coming back, the movie theater's coming back, all of that shit, the NBA coming back, NFL coming back, all of that stuff's coming back. It's going like summer 2022, it's going to be like none of this ever happened. But will you be like none of this ever happened? Will you be that way? I won't. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I won't is because I've had to confront myself in a way that would have only been made possible throughout this entire moment. I don't know if I'll be better or worse, but I definitely will be different.
I have this picture in my head that we all understand we won't be able to personally snap back. So if we personally don't snap back, how will the movies and the games all survive without us in our old version?
Because I don't think everybody feels like that. I think that people are there are a bunch of people that are dying to snap back, and they'll force themselves to, even if they don't feel the same. And also, there are a bunch of people who are also just like me, like I admitted myself, who wear some of these different facilities in society. Like, for example, I didn't know what to do on Saturday because Saturday was my day to go to the movies. Saturday was the routine of Saturday was wake up, go run 5 miles in Echo Park. Come back home, chill, watch LSU. If LSU is in season, right? If they're not in season, then no. Then around 1 or 2, me and her get up and we go to the movies. You know what I'm saying? And then we go like we go to the movies, come back, do your thing. You're chilling, right? All of that's dead. I'm not gonna run at Echo Park because the park has fundamentally changed and there's too many people out there. Okay. I'm definitely not going to the movies. And because I'm a cinephile, I've seen everything. All of this shit that you guys just watched, I've been watching that shit. That's what I do. So now what do? Now you got to sit with yourself on a Saturday.
Right.
And not just this Saturday, but every Saturday for a whole year. Mm-hmm. So when that stuff comes back, my routine will probably come back. It probably certainly will. But I also think that I will remember what it was like not to have it. And that's the part of it, because I want to remember. Mm-hmm. I want to be different. Yeah. I want to explore more and cherish the movement and cherish the earth and the relationships with people. Like I've been a lot of it's not enough. Like it now, I was driving around, I'm like, anyway, I don't want to
tell me.
No, when it's like you drive around and you're driving around and you're doing it to serve yourself. Like, why don't you drive around and deliver meals to somebody? There's a bunch of people who need you, and they're not gonna stop needing you. Like you're driving around and going all these places. You could right now be serving and showing gratitude. And if you can learn gratitude right now, I think that if you can learn gratitude right now, if you can learn emotional bravery right now, I think it's something that behooves you very well, especially at the point in my life that I'm at. But when I tell you guys, soon enough, the Super Bowl will be packed. Mm-hmm. And soon enough, Coachella will be back. They might have Coachella next year. Soon enough, these things are coming back. They are. The reason why they are is because you think that freedom is the basis of you think freedom democracy, togetherness, and solidarity is the basis of your society. It's not. Coachella is the basis of your society. The Super Bowl is the basis of your society. Frito-Lay, Walmart, Bank of America, Exxon, those are the basis of your society. And any disease that threatens those things is going down. Like any disease, any disease that threatens the Cheesecake Factory, any disease that threatens all of that, they're gonna figure it out.
I know.
AIDS didn't threaten that, which is why AIDS still exists. God bless everyone living with HIV and AIDS, and most of the people now, the therapies are great and stuff like that. But that was something. But think about there were virologists, epidemiologists, right? That said to get a working vaccine on something takes 4 years at the beginning of the pandemic. You have two vaccines, if you believe the news, which I think there's no reason not to believe it, that have over 90% efficacy right now. Mm-hmm. They wanted it to work, so it did. They're going to roll them out, refrigerate them. Over the course of the next year, people will be inoculated. Hopefully the vaccines work, and when they work, boom, that's that. Will you get back to business? That's the question.
I'm sitting with that. I'm sitting with it because a lot of people are telling themselves they won't, but they have to eat. Somebody works at Frito-Lay, somebody works at Walmart, somebody works at Disney, somebody works at Bank of America. So they know the culture is going to go back, and they might be at home doing what we're doing and introspective and blah, 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 and then go back outside. And it's like, hey, we back to normal. The heels are back on, put the tennis shoes on, need the suit back on. I know we all were at home for a year and you already saw me in my t-shirt, but put the suit back on.
No, I'm not saying that you have to. I can't wait for all of that stuff too. I'm not saying that you have to do different. I'm saying that you have to be different.
You do, but I think that's a part of it. Go ahead.
No. What I'm saying is, no, shout out to everybody that is a part of all of those industries. My point by saying that was that those industries make up what makes up America, which is commerce is what makes up America, and they're not going to let a virus kill commerce. It would have to be they're not going to let a virus kill commerce. It's just not. They're going to figure it out. But what I'm saying is that as far as realigning who you are and figuring out how to find peace in your life, or how to find peace in your existence, that's going to be something that is uncontrollable, or it can't be controlled more to the point by any set of circumstances around you. That has to be a lifelong goal.
Yes.
And for me, what this time has shown me is not so much about society, but more about myself.
Yes.
Is that I can't be in a position to where my happiness depends on whether or not I can go to the movies. I can't do that. I can't be in a position to where my happiness depends on whether or not I can go to a restaurant. My peace depends on whether or not I can't do that. So I'm going to have to make the daily effort to find my happiness and my peace in myself and in the sun and in nature and in different things like that. So I'm going to have to do that. But that doesn't separate me from anybody else who's going to feel a lot better, when they can go to the movies. I will too. I actually went to a screening. I went to a screening of a movie at the Warner Brothers lot not too long ago. It was like this theater held like 800 people, and they let like 5 people in there just so we could screen the movie, and so we could all be safe and stuff like that. And when I sat in the seat and the credits rolled to open the movie, I started crying. I'm like, because I sank into the seat, and the whole thing, I'm like. So no, I'm no different. I'm just saying I have to try to be different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make this quick pivot because I have you, and it's something that's been very piercing during this time, especially I would say during George Floyd. What are your thoughts when you hear, and this is the pivot, guys, what are your thoughts when you hear people say Black men are the weakest link? And, you know, how and it goes back to your friendships. Are y'all having those conversations? Are y'all checking it? Are you checking yourselves? Are you having like, oh, what's going on? Or is there some, what are those things?
Okay. So, number one, I think there's two answers to that. The first one is that I can see why some people feel that way, right? I can, because Black women have had to adapt to something that's really, you really can't adapt to it. You can't adapt to, it's interesting, you can't adapt to having so much placed upon you and then being so underappreciated at the same time. I know I couldn't do it. You really can't. There's really no way to adapt to it, right? There's really no way to adapt to what Black women have had to endure. And I'll save people from giving a laundry list of ways that Black women have been underappreciated and victimized for the last couple of generations here. Not for the last couple of generations, from the beginning, right? So there's no way to adapt to it, but Black women have. So what starts to happen is anytime somebody can take something, you make sure that they do take it. So if you want to be the person at work that has everybody throw the responsibility on you, keep showing them that you're the person that you can get all that responsibility thrown on you. So if you're the person that you know, that has to really be you, because they're going to keep coming back to you and asking you to perform in that manner. So the fact that sisters show up anytime you ask them to show up is wholly unsurprising. Like, if you're a Black man in America, having a Black woman be the person that saved your life is not a novel thing. It's the beginning, middle, and end of the story. So that part of it is the fact that Black men pale in comparison to Black women in the way they show up, in the way that they act and carry themselves in a lot of these different political and social things. That's not surprising at all. There's a lot of ways that sisters have been outperforming us for a very long time and really carrying more of the weight than they should be. I guess the question for me is twofold. Number one, whether or not Black men are the weakest link. If you look at something politically, I think Black women voted for Trump. Black women voted for Biden, 94% or something like that. Black men, it was like 88 or something. I'm not sure what the numbers are, something like that. So if we really are the weakest link, that I think there is a part of that is overblown in terms of in terms of just the sheer numbers of it. They're still overwhelmingly in favor, like they voted for Biden. Black men are still overwhelmingly married to Black women. But I don't think that they are matching the energy of sisters when it comes to these things. They're not, on the whole, we're not going as hard. I don't think anyone would come away from a non-emotional look at that and say that we just don't go as hard as sisters. No one goes as hard as sisters. The problem with it is that the messaging of all of this stuff is very tricky. Because we've put ourselves in a position where we've told ourselves that the imperfections of Black men have to be tolerated in order for us to have a community, while the imperfections of Black women have to be excoriated, right? So we've put ourselves to say, hey, don't tear him down. We need him. If she shows her navel, kill her. And that's difficult to sort of, and that's just the real. And that's difficult to intellectually legislate. Like there's like, or navigate, should I say? There's emotion there. There's like you have to be able to talk to your brothers about that. You have to be able to, and they have to be willing to give. Yeah. Because if you and when we say even terms back in the day, like we'll be like, I never forget a story. There was a girl named Lauren Bell. We're all on she was a U.S. attorney now. Now she's an attorney out there in Ohio. We're all in the same email thread. And I said something on the email thread about this is how they do the black man. She said, what about the black woman? This is maybe like 2007, 2008. She's on the email thread. She goes, what about the black woman? And I go, well, when I say the black man, like the black man, when I say apply to the black man, obviously that means the black woman as well. And she goes, no, it doesn't. I have never been more pissed off in my life. I was like, what you talking about? Like, of course I mean y'all. She's like, no. You have to say the black woman and man, because we have things that go on with us that are specific to our experience. And if it all gets thrown in together, we get erased. I was so fucking mad. How I'm trying to erase you. How I'm trying to erase my mama and my sister. Man, you bugging. Like, this is the problem, blah, 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 the whole nine. I've been there. But the reality of it is that the most difficult place to like really get a full body view of yourself is when you're driving the seat of oppression, right? You can't see what you do. Especially if somebody else got their foot on your neck, it's harder for you to feel where your foot is. But you have to try, right? And so I do think that we need to change the way we speak to each other intracommunally, period, and there has to be some cultural love and some cultural patience there. But at the same time, motherfuckers are sick of shit.
Right.
Our LGBT community is sick of waiting for niggas to wake up. The sisters is sick of waiting for niggas to wake up. They sick of it. So I'm not gonna say put on the kid gloves. It hurts. I mean, it hurts. It hurts to hear you niggas ain't shit all the time. It hurts to hear from them and then to hear from inside. But the thing that should hurt more is actually not being shit. So, and with brothers also, there's a lot of other things that we've fallen into. Once again, this worship of capitalism, flexing on each other, all of this stuff. There are parts of us that have been so easily indoctrinated into what this country is and some of the vile kind of, I guess, aspects of America. We've really eaten it up, and we're turning it on each other. So you tell a rich nigga that it's a guy that's going to cut their taxes, they might go vote for him. Meanwhile, Alicia Garza has people on her doorstep threatening her, and that guy that you're voting for sent them there. If one person hurt one black lady and she is telling you that she is hurt and you know it to be true, you should think twice about whether or not you support that person. You shouldn't think twice. You shouldn't support that. Let me say that again. Listen to black women. If they're telling you they're being hurt, they're being hurt.
Yes.
If not only if they're telling you that they're being hurt, if they're telling you that someone's hurting you, they're probably hurting you. They're definitely hurting you. So, I don't know. It doesn't seem to be to me. I don't see the big deal. I can watch the gin and juice video now, right? Not gin and juice. Is it gin and juice? Maybe it's gin and juice. I can watch the gin and juice video now, and I can see what was wrong.
Right.
Like I can see what was wrong, and I'm like, God damn, I was raised on that. And we do that for so many other ways. Like, you niggas not like it's you used to eat non-laters and airheads all day. You didn't know any better, but now that you do know better, you eat a banana. It's almost as if you don't want to do better just because Black women are saying that you should do better.
But one is attached to identity and how we show up, and the other is attached to a diet change, which is also could be a part of it.
A diet is everything is diet.
Yeah.
Everything is diet. A diet is something I learned about this. I used to be a much bigger guy, right? So a diet is something that you really don't have very much control over. That's the first thing I had to realize about like dealing with my weight, was that I come from South Baton Rouge, Louisiana, right? Someone told me how to eat. They told me how to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Someone before, I had no choice in my diet. Zero choice in it. Zero choice. The food that I put in my body, they told me how to eat. They told me how much to eat. They told me when to eat. And they did this for a very long time. Then you assess who you are. And you say, is this working for me now? Because I'm not an immortal child anymore where my body can take everything, right? I like, now, is this working for me? Is this working for us? That same diet that was given to you is the same patriarchy that was given to you. It's the same chauvinism. It's the same capitalism. That whole diet, I'm not denying that it was given to us. I'm not denying that it was given to us. It was by people we trusted.
Mm-hmm.
The question is it working now? And the answer is very clearly no. So if you can change the food that you eat to get healthier, you mean to tell me you can't change the way you treat people that you share your community with? You can't change your views on that community? You can't change your views on solidarity? You can't change your views on intra-community violence? You can't change your views on sex? So you can change everything else except for all the other bad shit that you were given. It's not true. You have to want to, and there also has to be something within that set of societal rules that makes you want to, right? I have to be like, it was a time to where, I have to be like, yo, nigga, that's whack. You can't come play Madden. Shout out to Jamila Lemieux for calling me on that. I had her on my podcast a couple of years ago, and she was like, well, how do you police your homeboys? I'm like, yo, I don't get niggas business about shit that they do. Like, you having these issues with your girl or whatever, when you come over here to play the Madden, it's a safe space. I was wrong.
Right. Very good.
I was wrong. I was straight up wrong. I have been wrong on this. I was being the best guy I thought that I could be. I would never hurt anyone. I would never do anything like that. But it's not enough. It's not enough. Like, R. Kelly deserves to be in jail as much for our crimes as he is for his. He's a symbol of our dysfunction, of who we were. Not just who he was, but who we were. We all got to wear that. And as soon as I said this, a bunch of people out there saying, I ain't never do anything to anybody. You didn't, but then again, you did. Because the reality is this. We're talking to police officers right now, and we're saying, if you're not out in the dirty cops in your police station, then you are one of them. How could that same logic not apply to people who hurt, oppress, marginalize Black women? They have to be the same. Or our LGBT brothers and sisters. It have to be the same. It's not enough. But it's a conversation that we're gonna have to have, and it can't happen with any cameras, it can't happen with any lights, and it has to happen all the time. And we have to talk about it ourselves, because there is gonna be some cultural patience, trust, and love that we're gonna have. We're not owed it from Black women. We're not owed it from the LGBT community. We're not owed it. But for me, I just want the latitude to be able to talk to these brothers and talk and really deliver the messages without just saying, hey, fuck you, nigga, get out of here. I can say, fuck you, nigga, while we're having it. Fuck you, you're wrong. But I at least need to be able to do the work with them and not just cut everybody off, because that's not going to grow the forest. So for me, I see why, and I get people that say all the time, why are you friends with this person? Why do you know this person? Why do you know that person? Well, and I'm saying I'm there with them because that's where I got to be. And I'm also there with them. I'm also with other people, so I know where I still need to grow. And it's a million places. It's like I'm not there. Nobody is there. So I can't detach. I gotta be present, and I gotta be there, and I gotta keep pushing people to this shit is whack, and gotta kind of make it happen. But I basically, to answer the question, I understand why sisters feel that way, but it doesn't make me look at my brothers any differently. I see opportunity, and I see a generation of young Black men coming behind me that are more in tune, more ready, and more equipped to change their communities than ever before.
Yes.
And if you pay attention to that, you can get mad about what somebody 50, 55, 45, you can get mad about what they do, or you can get mad about what they say, or you can focus on the fact that societal attitudes are shifting and changing.
Yes.
And I think that they are, and it's up to us to make sure that we maintain that momentum.
That is my highest hope for us. And even in asking that, I believe that we're walking into a generation, a healing generation, that's willing to detach our worthiness to constructs that weren't even built for us to succeed. I just think the worthiness, like for you to have to tell a friend that's whack and they're like still arguing with you, I'm like, what are you arguing about, bro? Like truly, even when I'm because the same colonization you went through, women went through as well. So there are a lot of women with very, unfortunately, dysfunctional theories of how they show up for men or as women, or how men should show up, and what this, I just paid attention, read a lot differently this year, and I was like, hey, y'all, we're sick. Like, we can worry about everybody else and other races and this and this, but we have so much in us that we have to and deserve to throw away and get better at. And so,
yeah, growth hurts. It hurts physically. I'm 6'4". When I was growing up, my knees used to hurt. Right?
Yeah.
I'd be like, "What's wrong with my knees?" Dad, take me to the doctor. My dad would be like, "Yo, your knees hurt because you're 12. You're growing." It's not all that. I know it's like, and growth hurts, and it's supposed to hurt because you're not supposed to want to regress, right? So it's supposed to hurt. So look, my homeboys out there, you're on there, you're hearing someone saying Black men ain't shit. Write the tweet back, but don't send it. I do that all the time. You hear someone saying, these niggas ain't this, these niggas are, write it out. Write the problem, don't send it though. Because the reality is, it's like if your kid is hungry, I'm not making Black women into children, I'm just using an example. If your kid is hungry and they come in and they tell you that, anybody that you love is hungry, they come in and say, yo, I'm hungry, I don't have anything to eat. Are you going to argue with them about like what you're trying to do to feed them?
yeah.
Or are you gonna the first thing you're gonna do, are you gonna try to make sure that they feel nourished by you? The best thing that Black men can do for Black women is nourish them. Be a part of the nourishment. Be a part of the nourishment of your community. Be a part of the nourishment of the women. And remember, these are not subordinates. These are partners. These are people you don't lord over in your community. You share your community.
I hate that we lost that. I don't understand where that got lost.
I don't think I don't think it necessarily got lost as much as it never really was established, but we're working on it. We're working on it. We're working on it. And a lot of times, also in more traditional homes, people fall into those rhythms, like sort of almost intrinsically. Like my father was the big man in the house, and you gotta ask your daddy, you gotta ask your daddy. But if you pay attention for 5 minutes, my mother ran the household. Like she ran everything, including him.
Right.
Like my mother, like she ran everything, including him.
Mm-hmm.
But that bailed him out. He had to be less present than he probably should have been, because there are a lot of things that my mom had to go through that she didn't have anybody to talk to him about. Certainly not her husband. So, we have to decompartmentalize our existence with Black women. We have to look at it in a more holistic way and share in the importance of decision making inside of it. And that means sometimes, nigga, it can't be you.
It can.
It just can't be you. It's got to be her. So that's why
that's for you.
It doesn't mean less for you. It doesn't mean less for you at all.
Exactly.
Like, and to be honest with you, even if it did mean less for you, contemplate what it is that you actually want more of. So between you and your sisters, right? You and your, like, what do you want more of? What do you want her to have? What do you want to have of more than her? Like, what, and why? If you want to have more money, why? Probably so that you can control her, so that she is then dependent on you, and that makes you feel like more of a man, right?
Mm.
Right? Like whatever you want more, if you want to have all the decision making, or if you want control of her body, well, why? Why? Because at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with her. It has to do with how you want her to make you feel. And the reality of that whole situation is it just can't be that way.
Exactly.
It can't be that way. Or maybe it can for some of you niggas. But it's not like, I don't know, man. I'm really coming off, it's just common sense. Whatever, bro. Like, I don't know. Some of them, and by the way, like I said before, by and large, there are way more good brothers out here than there are bad ones. All of those things, by and large.
There's a lot of women who believe that. There's a lot of women who know and believe that. We're not just saying it to just be out here saying it and ripping our men. That's not what, and I can't speak for all women, but but to your point.
And even some of the bad ones are really good ones, but it's not up to y'all to do that work. We'll do it. Just let us do it. So that's the only thing that I would say. If I'm gonna have an argument with a sister about something, which I try not to do, I would say just let me, like, you saying that nigga ain't shit, cool. Let me deal with him. Van, you hang with him unless he's hurt someone. If he's hurt someone, then that's different. But let me deal with him. Mm-hmm. Let me deal with him. Let me talk to him. He said something stupid. He did something crazy. He's out there putting these ideas out there. Let the rest of us as brothers come together and coach each other up. Give us the latitude to coach each other up. Now I can't be not shit now just because I'm talking to him. I'm telling you the shit that you're telling me. I'm telling him. So somebody got to talk to him, and that's the only thing that I would say.
You're thinking we should give you guys a latitude. Are you guys giving it to yourselves? I mean, you are consciously saying that you are, but are a lot of, this is why I love this conversation / this question, because I always want to know, I'm like, what are the Black men talking about? What are y'all talking about with each other? Are you getting to this point where it's like, hey, we gotta do it with each other?
Well, I mean, look, these conversations, first of all, either have to be broached purposely, or there has to be a reason that this happens. I had a conversation with a friend of mine not too long ago, and it's a dear friend of mine, and we were talking about my homie Luke James, fantastic singer, right? And my friend was telling me that he didn't like Luke James anymore. He likes Luke James less now because Luke James dated a transgender on The Shy. His character dated a transgender on The Shy. And he's like, after he played that role, like, I look at him different. And I was like, interesting. It's like, so you look at him different now because he played someone that dated a transgender. And he's like, yeah, man. I was like, that's something I used to ride around thinking that, like, that, you know, like his music, he reflected kind of me. And now that he did that, I can't see me in him anymore. He was like, it's almost the same thing with Frank Ocean. He was like, with Frank Ocean, you know, once I found out that Frank Ocean was gay, then I can't listen to Frank Ocean's songs anymore because now I know that Frank Ocean is singing about a guy and it's about a gay relationship and it changes everything. And I found this conversation to be insanely intriguing because right after that, my friend goes, but look, I don't care what these guys do. And I said, but wait, you care and you care very deeply. Mm-hmm. Like you care very sincerely about what it is that they do. Like you really do care. No, and we had literally an hour and a half conversation about whether or not he cared. I'm like, what you just said is you stopped doing something that you liked because of the situation. Then you said you didn't care about it. I was like, I'll give you an example. I stopped eating at Chick-fil-A, right? Stopped eating at Chick-fil-A. I don't think anything goes better with Saturday than Chick-fil-A. I just can't do it. But the reason why is because I cared about what Chick-fil-A was doing with their politics, right? And because I cared about it, I stopped fucking with Chick-fil-A. That's what happened. All right. So I can't say that Chick-fil-A can do whatever they want to do with their politics or whatever, but like, no, I definitely cared. And it was enough to make me change my behavior. See, the thing is that sort of passive hatred or that passive attitude or that sort of thing, it's like, the reality is that's a good man, my friend. He's a good man.
Right.
But he hasn't had to look at whether or not decisions like that are actually fucking disgusting. Because in the sort of vacuum sealed existence and community that we grew up in, no one's going to challenge that. No one's going to say that that's whack. No one's going to do that. My function in that conversation is not to make him feel like shit, but to let him know that that's shitty. It's not to hold his hand through it either. It's like, I told him straight up, I was like, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, what you're talking about is a bunch of bullshit, and you're hateful. Like, you're a hateful person. You are a Westboro Baptist Church hateful person, and you're choosing that. You're choosing that. I said, first of all, it doesn't even make any sense because you love Brandy, and Brandy been singing about niggas ever since she got here. So you can listen to it. What you don't care about the fact that someone is singing about a guy. You care about homosexuality, and you care very deeply about it. It disgusts you. You don't want it. Like, confront those feelings. Mm-hmm. Deal with them. And understand that those are the feelings that get people fucked up. Those are the feelings that lead to the runaway rate in Black transgender youth being astronomically high. The suicide rate amongst Black gay men and women being astronomically high, higher than their white counterparts. You know, like those are the things that lead to that.
Those thoughts, yes.
Well, those thoughts then become actions, right?
Exactly.
You're doing it. And then ask yourself if that's who you want to be. Now, if you tell me that's who you want to be, now the ball is in my court. Fuck it, that's how I feel. Cool. Now I have to decide who I want to be. But the first thing that you have to do is let someone know that that's not anything that's passive. That's active hate. Active hate. And it's a choice. It's a very deliberate choice. You choose to look at Luke a different way. You choose not to play Frank's music anymore. It's a choice. All right? So those guys are the same guys they were before. Brilliant. Both of them. Brilliant. Both from Louisiana, by the way. Brilliant. We really get busy in Louisiana. Y'all don't give us our credit.
I'm but
but brilliant. brilliant, right? So my only thing with that is like the function is to be like, yo, fam, let's delve into this. Let's look at where this comes from.
Has he had discuss before? You feel?
We've had talks about it, but I think this one was different, and I think the reason why it was different was because it was jovial. Like I wasn't like I was saying, it was jovial in tone, meaning that I didn't bring a pitchfork. I was just unrelenting in the fact that you are homophobic, you are a homophobe, you are what's wrong with society. You cannot talk me out of it. Me, this person that loves you, that you love, that you think highly of, been knowing each other for all the time, this is what I think about you. And by the way, I'm not relenting. I'm not going backwards on it. I'm not going to make you feel okay about the opinion. I mean, you can tell me how you feel about me. There's a million people listening to this, bans all kinds of things, bans a know-it-all, bans a pervert, porn addicts, all of that, all of it. We can discuss all of it. We can talk about all of it. And you can remind me of everything that I am. This though, right here is what you are. And what you are hurts people. Do you want to be that? Mm-hmm. Do you want to be that? Because I don't think you do, dog. I really don't think you do. And as it relates to our sisters, I know you don't. I know you don't want to hurt Black women. I know you don't want to hurt Black women. I know you don't.
You're right.
And in order to not to, this is what we got to do. Are you down for it or not? Not only not hurt. This is the toughest thing about this situation. Do you know how you keep somebody safe? You know how you make somebody safe? The way you make somebody safe is you give them the ability to hurt you. And I'll tell you what that means. I'll tell you what this means. I'm on a basketball court with somebody, right? And we get ready to fight. Or they're smaller than me or whatever. As long as I have power over them, me not hurting them or not invoking my power over them is charity. All right? It's charity. It's me being a good guy for the reason that I'm not fucking over them. If we're in a competitive state or something like that, it's charity, right? But if they have the ability to hurt me, it's not charity because now they are empowered. So now their power is making them safe. You might ask yourself, how do you empower women? That's where stuff like the Me Too movement comes in. Where women by themselves can make decisions about who the harmful men are and then take something from them. I know that feels bad for a lot of guys. Like, he lost his career. No, it's necessary.
Right. Because
doesn't matter what it is. No one who isn't powerful in this world is safe. No one who isn't powerful is safe. Nobody, don't matter who. The reason why Black lives matter less than white lives is because of power. Yeah. It's because if you start capping off white boys the way you capping off Black boys like this, it's gonna be different. Like if it's a bunch of white boys getting murdered in the town, the opioid crisis, right? Oh my God, it's a crisis of using drugs. Why isn't it a criminal crisis like crack was? You know why? Because those lives matter because of the power that their white skin represents, right? It's very simple. I'm not breaking any news. Everybody knows this. So what I'm saying is, if you want your sisters safe, you want them powerful. You want them with the ability to affect what it is that you're doing. You want them in positions and able to actually go after. You want there to be ramifications for hurting them. Yes. That's the only way to make them safe. That's the part of it that's hard. The part of it that's hard is for people to actually be like, yo, I'm willing to see consequences for my actions. Because everything else is just charity. Everything else is Timbuktu, nigga, hotel, you the queen of the universe, all of that shit like that. I'm not saying that that's not true, because it is. But what I'm saying is that stuff right there is not a workable solution. What has to happen is that like you have to worship black ladies enough to want shit to happen when somebody runs afoul of them. It's and not to protect that. So, and it's tough because some of these might be your niggas. Some of these are going to be your niggas. They will be them. You know what I'm saying? So it's a difficult situation to be in sometimes, but this is where we are, and we gotta dig ourselves out of it.
It's just a painful reprogramming I hear, like in every, like from your friend not realizing that table. Cause I do this thing where I hear your story you said, and I went to like okay, so what programming got him there? And I love that you went like, nah, that's whack. And I love it. Cause it's true. It is whack. But I also added why does he feel like that one thing didn't mean that other thing? And I could think of 5 other reasons, where he thought.
I'll tell you what kind of programming got him that way. You're looking at him. Me. Not just me, but my father, my other homeboys, everyone. I was a part of all of that. Like it was us. It's not him, it's us. Yes. So it's my dad, it's his dad, it's the whole crew, it's everybody. We're all together in that. The culpability is here. Known him since we were 13. It's all of us together. And so it's me as we all used the words, we all told the stories, we all did the actions. Now the difference between me and some other people is that my sister is gay in that situation, so there was a lot of things that I was exposed to that a lot of people weren't, and it just wasn't that big of a deal to me. However, I pretended like it was. I did, and so what I'm saying is, and it's the same thing with all of that. If we were all getting high together, like on that dope, right? Eventually somebody would break free and be like, hey, by the way, I work at a bank and my life is good. I don't fall asleep at 3 in the afternoon and it's pretty good over here. You guys might want to try it. And you have to care enough about those people to be aggressive about trying to save them and let them know that, like, not only is it you, but you're hurting your family, you're hurting your body, you're hurting all of this, boom, 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 boom. But it's not his fault, it's our fault. It's not a him, it's an us. We have to change all of this stuff. And the only thing I want is a chance to change it. That's it. The chance to do better, and the chance to help my brothers and the people in my community do better, and the chance to do better myself. Nobody has to wait for us to grow. I'm not saying wait to be critical. I'm not saying wait to be anything. I'm not saying wait. But I'm just saying give us the latitude to grow.
Right.
That's and even that grace, to be honest with you.
Might not always.
To be honest with you, that grace isn't required. It's not, you don't get to demand that. So, whatever.
Man, wow. I mean, people, I hope you're blessed. I just feel like, again, human to human is a space to really, I just think, can we really talk about some stuff? Can we just say what really is going on? And for me, these words of programming and blah, 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 I don't know. I didn't know if I know they're massive, but I just feel like we had to see them on every single level, whether it's through this phone, through whatever. Like, we just really needed to see it on every level so we can get the hell out of here. Please. Like, it's time.
No, real. I mean, yeah, I get it. And when you say human to human, very powerful title. Love a space where you can come in and just be human for a second and kind of just do your thing and just talk. This was actually therapeutic for me. I'm feeling better now than I was when I got on here.
Thank you. Same.
All right.
Thank you guys for watching. You guys make sure to check out this episode. Tell your friends. Take notes. It's important. But until next time, see you soon.